SEADS, the Cultural Equity and Economic Development Strategy, it is absolutely novel globally, right? Nobody's ever really done it at this level.
Yeah.
So when I talk to my clients, I have these conversations and I'm like, okay, so let's look at what your disengagement is. Let's quantify what that is. And it's almost like I have three heads.
What do you mean?
Right. There's a dollar figure on that. And then there's pushback because no. This is about how people feel. And this is about, how people interact. Absolutely. Yes. And there's a dollar figure to all of that. SEADS has three pillars. So we have our cultural transformation pillar, then we have our economic impact pillar, and then we have our community resilience pillar. So when we look at those three pillars for a solopreneur, it is applied vastly differently than it would be applied for like a large organization. So generally with a large organization, I would look at what's the average salary of your employees, right? And then we would do all these calculations. Basically, the framework is math. That's literally what it is. Math and some organizational behavior and psychology application. But when I'm dealing with an individual entrepreneur, I look very, very heavily at their reputation capital. Girl, I'm from the Bayland, okay? Like it has been my dream to build a business where I can come home and be home and work from home and contribute to my home. And I know I don't sound like it, I may not look like it, but I am Bajan.
Today, we welcome Dr. Shindale Seale. She is a doctor of education and the founder and CEO of SEADE Coaching and Consulting. She's also the creator of the CEEDS framework, CEEDS, which stands for Cultural Excellence Economic Strategy. It is the only proprietary methodology that quantifies in dollars and cents what cultural disengagement costs organizations, and better yet, it provides the roadmap to recover those costs. With 30 years of experience across 200 plus organizations in 15 industries, Dr. Seale has deployed SEADS across Fortune 1000 companies, nationally recognized social enterprises, global enterprises operating in over 140 countries, and healthcare systems in the United States and the Caribbean. The framework launched internationally right here in my home nation, Barbados, in April 2026, this year, just a few months ago, and it's now active across the United States, the Caribbean, and Canada. So, Dr. Seale, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Island Woman podcast. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting.
Yeah,
Very
for me
exciting.
too.
Yeah.
For me too. So I missed what happened in April this year. And so we need to dig into what SEADS is all about. But before we get there, I'd like to ask if you had to strip your 30-year career down to just one big ambition and one simple daily ritual or practice that keeps you grounded, what would that big ambition be? And what would that simple ritual be?
For me, the big ambition changed. I started out like, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to,
Yeah.
and then that became the reality of that came down to, I just really want to leave it better than I found it. And I think that really allows me to release myself of that self-imposed stress that a lot of us put on ourselves. Like, oh, I have to succeed at this thing. And if I don't, whatever. So whatever that gauge is for leaving it better than I found it, that benchmark or whatever, that's how I am now looking at that big ambition. And the second part of your question, to think about what that daily ritual is, throughout those years and the aging, I took on a practice of daily meditation. And it's outrageous, but I spend about 2 hours in meditation every day. Yeah, so I do an hour in the morning. I wake up at like 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
I do my meditation, and my family's like, hello. So, and then at night before I go to bed, I do, a good hour, just a lot of vagus nerve, like resetting, and then a lot of meditation, visualization, because in reality, that big ambition, regardless of how I scaled it down, it still is a lot. It's still a lot with my life and all the things that I want to do and I want to accomplish. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really like that question because it helps me to like think like, what am I doing to help myself? Yeah.
Yeah, it is all encompassing. And I mean, our focus here on the Island Woman podcast is that big and simple life, which always seems like a paradox, but I think it's kind of the perfect explanation of maybe how we're trying to live in the Caribbean,
Mhm.
especially leaders, founders, entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
People come here to relax and have that simplicity of living. But right here where we are, we still have that massive ambition to change
Yes.
the world,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
change our world.
Yes. As you should. And I consider, I mean, I'm a Bajan too, but I live in Los Angeles. But it's like even when I come home and I'm home, you know, about a third of the year, I'm there a lot.
Yeah.
It's like almost like an escape.
Yeah.
I escape and I come home and then I'm like, wait a minute. It's just like what you described. I'm like, wait a minute. It's still the same thing. So it's an intentional activity, I believe. And what you're saying, what you're speaking exactly what you just said, it has to be an intentional, deliberate engagement of that simplicity, right? So,
Yeah, I agree. And Bajans and other Caribbean people living across the world, whenever I come into contact with them, some of them are the most accomplished people in their fields, as you are. We go out into the world and we take that big ambition with us. And we also take with us the cultural grounding of that kind of simple, laid back, we know how to relax kind of thing. But I want to talk now about your work, because if we go through your bio in detail, it says you're an international organizational strategist. And I want you to explain for people in simple terms what that means and what that work entails.
yeah. Yeah. It's a multisyllabic way of saying that I go into organizations and I study them. I study what's working and what's not working. And then I provide them with strategies to fix it. And in some cases, if they want me to, I help them fix it. A lot of it was initially housed in a lot of training and coaching and things of that nature. But the strategy behind it, really understanding what the infrastructure of an organization is. Like, what are your operations doing? What's your HR doing? What is your marketing doing? And how do these things work together to help you actually accomplish what it is that you say you want to accomplish? So, for instance, at the podcast, you'll say, okay, well, you know what? I have this goal to interview 40 people in a month. Let's say that, right? And that's your goal. So I come in and I'm looking at, okay, well, what are your socials doing? And what are the people, what's your team doing? And if they're actively working against that goal, then there's a strategy that we need to implement in order to help you realign to reach that goal. That's a very, very simplistic way of saying it, because when we're looking at organizations that have, 5, 6, 10-year goals, which that you should not have, but and you're, and you've got all these different cultures that are, and by culture I mean like different ways of behaving that are actively, disadvantaging you, then it's a complex work and it's exciting, but depending on the organization, it could be it could lead to some interesting interactions. So, yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been
I
fun.
mean, a couple of things there. One of them, of course, people say change is a constant,
Mhm, mhm.
but also we know change involves a huge amount of
Yes,
resistance.
yes.
And then also, I mean, as much as we talk about strategy, I think it's sometimes difficult for people to introspect and for organizations
Mhm, mhm.
to take a breath from the doing to do that introspection that's going to help them change and actually achieve what they say they want,
Mm.
right?
Girl,
Yeah.
you have dropped a bar today, okay? Because when you think about all of these grandiose ideas and goals, and you have the mission statements and you have the this and that, it really, really requires us to really understand the environment in which we're asking for these things to happen. Uh, and are we prepared? It could be analogous to putting an ice block into an oven. I really want to make sure that, this thing is happening, but you don't have the ecosystem, the landscape that this thing is going to survive in. And that reflective piece that you just spoke of is so important for us to understand how we want to achieve whatever we're trying to achieve in this environment, or does the environment need to be fixed? And so,
Yeah.
do we need to adjust our goals, or do we need to adjust the environment? And then, or both. And so these are really important, pertinent questions.
Yeah, I think so. And speaking of environments, I mean, your work has been, as we can tell from the bio, entrenched in North America.
Mhm.
But then you did this recent launch here in Barbados, bringing your work now to a new market, to the Caribbean. New-ish,
Ish.
because
Ish. Well, yeah. So, and I was thinking about, I did want to touch on when you were talking about resistance because, and now bringing it to Barbados, it's interesting because resistance is everywhere, right? Anything new,
yeah,
get resistance. And I had this coach once, and he said, "I never want to be." Oh no, he didn't say I. He said, You never want to be the person who brings the new thing. You want to be the person after the person who brings the new thing."
hmm,
But that, I mean, you can interpret that any way that you need to, but this was actually, as we were discussing, like this whole new concept because SEADS, the Cultural Equity and Economic Development Strategy, it is absolutely novel globally, right? It's nobody's ever really done it at this level.
yeah,
So when I talk to my clients and when I have these conversations and I'm like, okay, so let's look at what your disengagement is. Let's quantify what that is. And it's almost like I have three heads. It's
yeah.
literally like, what?
What do you mean?
Right. There's a dollar figure on that. And then there's pushback because no, 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 no. This is about how people feel and this is about, how people interact. Absolutely, yes. And there's a dollar figure to all of that. So if you tell me that, you've got, these people and they're calling out sick and they're fighting in the parking lot or whatever the heck, God forbid. Right, God forbid, but we have had that.
Not unheard of, yes.
Right, exactly. There is a dollar figure to that. The
Yeah.
productivity loss, the institutional knowledge that might be lost because great employees are leaving. Your speed to market costs. Like there are literal dollar amounts, and so this is where when I bring that to folks, the resistance to that, just the math of it all, is astounding in a lot of ways. So when bringing it to Barbados, and Barbados is rightfully skeptical about a lot of things because as a small island developing country, a state, it is really important that anything that comes to Barbados be vetted and be vetted in the environment, in the economy, in the
In
law.
the context.
Right. Because we can't afford to have some fly by night, John Doe come in with something that could ruin our economy. We have to look at this and say, okay, let's check the boxes. Let's research let's look at the receipts. Let's see, and I think that this is where I appreciate that resistance actually, because it actually causes me to be a lot more detail oriented, a lot more contextually sound in what I bring. And so this is something that when I was here last year when it was really I was really like developing and refining it. I really had to consider who is my real audience, like, and how do I make this something where my people can really benefit and thrive from and ensure
Yeah.
that it's economically viable. So yeah, that thank you for the resistance, folks. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I want to, of course, dig into seeds and what that really is about. And thank you so much for the background that you offered just now. But speaking of resistance and the example that you shared from your coach who said, don't bring anything new. Did you kind of feel like, okay, I think I want to do this thing. I've been working in organizations all these years. This seems like what they really need to be focused on. But what was your internal resistance? Because as a founder, as someone who is running an independent consultancy, working with other founders who are doing other things, other women in
Yes.
leadership,
Hmm.
I mean, everybody has their internal resistance, but then, a woman in leadership, it's kind of a different ballpark as well. So tell me about the internal resistance that you may have felt just even bringing it back home,
Hmm.
even though this is back home,
Hmm.
or taking it to someone in LA. What was that about, and why did you overcome it and decide to bring it here anyway?
I love that you think that I overcame it. Thank you. Because every day we question ourselves, right? Every day I say, do I really like, should I? Maybe, I don't know. Like, and there's always this tension because
Yeah.
I know that the thing is tight. I know that it's viable. I know that it works. I vetted it. It's been stress tested. But
Yeah.
are people really gonna buy this? Are people really
Yeah.
going to buy into what I'm saying? Are they gonna believe me, or are they gonna chase me out with pitchforks? Yes, that is a fear that I have all the time. I mean, like, do people even care about quantifying cultural misalignment? Probably not. But then when I talk to them about, like, this is how much you're losing, home. This is how much you're losing, my friend. Then it's like, oh, wait, so for me, the resistance, yes, there's a duality to it. And I'm really glad that you surfaced this, because if I'm thinking about what people's resistance to what I'm bringing, and
Yeah.
then within me, there's this kind of fear or stalling or uncertainty, there's that surmounting that in a way that says, okay, you know what you are doing is so valuable that even if they chase you out with a pitchfork, that at some point this is going to be beneficial to
Yeah.
somebody's going to find it beneficial. And I believe so strongly in that we have all the experiences that we've had in organizations and working with other folks, and we know that 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 piece, that quantification, could actually take us to another level.
Agreed, agreed. And it's interesting that you came to Barbados. And my question really is why Barbados? But this
Hmm.
is interesting about Barbados for at least, I would say, the last decade and a half or so. One of the things that has been on the tips of the tongue of a lot of business leaders is lack of productivity. And
Mhm.
so, that's something that we as Barbadians have been told, you're not productive. There's this lack of productivity. And then of course there was an organization that was formed specifically about productivity and get people engaged in the workforce and in the workplace, et cetera, et cetera. But my question to you is, why did you choose Barbados to do the launch?
Girl, I'm from the Bayland, okay? Like, I am it is it is literally it has been my dream to build a business where I can come home and be home and work from home and contribute to my home. And I know I don't sound like it, I may not look like it, but I am Bajan.
You look,
And the bottom line of it is that when I consider all of the resources that I've been blessed with, you know, I left Barbados when I was 9. And I'll tell you this, never in a million years would I have thought that I would have been returning home as a doctor with a business that I can contribute to the economy of Barbados. I've done a lot of things. I've met a lot of people, done a whole lot of whatever. And I can probably count on my fingers the amount of opportunities that I've had to really contribute to the Barbados ecosystem. And now I've created something that I actually can, that I have control over, that I can actually do that with. So let's roll.
who was in the room when you did this launch, and what was the reception, and then how did that experience leave you feeling like, okay, can I go ahead? Is this going to work? Tell me about that.
Okay, so when I did like the chills. Okay, so I was completely blown away by everything that happened on April 8th. I had this harebrained idea that I was going to launch SEADS in Barbados. I was ready. I was like, look, I don't care. Come hook or crook. I am going to do this thing. I honestly, I probably expected about 10 people to show up. I was ready. No, I'm serious. Like, so my business development manager in Barbados, Shauna Marshall, SMB Consulting, folks, please.
Yes.
Her up. Thank you. She she was there. She was my wing lady, right? Like, okay, it's gonna be fine. We're gonna work this through. And in my mind, all that resistance that you talked about, all that
Yeah.
resistance it was there. The doubts, the uncertainty. I had never done any real business in Barbados, and so I was like, I don't know. Is it gonna work? I go into that room, sis. Let me tell you. First of all, I brought my entire family. I brought my entire. They were working.
Just in case.
I was like, y'all are gonna work today. All of my Bayesian folks are like, what do you do? They have no idea what I do. And I said, look, I need you to clear off your calendar. You're coming to Sky Mall April 8th. Clear your calendar. Let's go. So the whole family comes. And they're all Bayesian. They all live in Barbados. So they just whatever. And I had some of them running the mics. I had some of them passing out the books. It was great. It was a family affair. But then more people came, and then more people came, and then more people came.
Wow.
And we ended up over capacity. In all my doubts, I know I'm supposed to be like, oh, whatever, but in all my doubts, I said, okay, let's set it at 30. Well, 37 came. And so 37 came. And then I'm doing this thing. And I'm a facilitator at heart, right? So I'm doing my thing. And I get to the call to action. That's, for those of you who've never been in one of these sessions, like toward the end, there's like this, okay, folks, so now you've learned this thing. I want you to sign up and I want you to da 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 da. I
Yeah.
didn't even get to that. This wonderful sister girl in the session says, Doc, we've already signed up. I didn't even get to the CTA. By the time I was done, I had 19 people signed up. I had a 50% conversion rate for my consultations. So then, of course, I did the consultations and provided people with their roadmaps. But I'll tell you that the energy in the room was electric. I was over the moon. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I mean, Barbados owes me nothing, honestly. Seriously.
Okay. So who, I'm assuming then that it was a lot of business leaders,
Yeah,
whether
a lot
from
of
large
MSPs.
business, small business,
Mhm.
MSMEs, who were in the room. And you say that SEADS is a methodology that quantifies in dollars and cents the cost of cultural misalignment
Mhm.
that companies pay, along with a roadmap to recover those costs. So let's kind of break that down. What does that mean for businesses here in Barbados and in the
Yes.
Caribbean? So for those 19 people who signed up, what does that mean?
Well, what that means is now what we're doing is what I was talking about at the beginning. We're going to look, we looked at your company. I ran like extensive analysis. They got basically what other organizations pay tons of money for. So I ran like a deep and profound analysis of their companies, whatever it was. Like, so even if you're a solopreneur, if there's any publicly available information on you, I am able to find it and run it and analyze it. So we went through that. We looked at the region. We looked at what the prospectus would be for anything coming down, economically, professionally, what the plans are, what the goals and missions are. And we looked at what they're doing currently, what is in their, portfolio, what they're, and we had like a conversation, each of us sat down with each of them and we spoke individually about, okay, so what are you doing? What is your routine? Like you asked me, what's your daily routine? So how are you working through your business? And from there, I was able to provide them with, okay, based on all of this, here is your roadmap, your 90-day roadmap. Day 1 through 30, this is what you do. Days 31 through 60, this is what you do. Day 61. And it was literally like step by step, this is what you would do. And so from there, it was, hey, you're off and running. The individuals in the room. So we had a lot of we had finance people, we had academicians, we had some people who were working in some of the ministries and whatnot. It was a very diverse group of individuals. And so when we look at what was provided to this group, it was a comprehensive package for them to actually move forward to see where they are. They got their numbers. They knew I always say, what's your number? That's, guys come up to you, hey, what's your number? Right. So like, that was kind of my thing. Like, what's your number?
Yeah.
So it basically, their number is their productivity tax. So we
Yeah.
calculated that in the room. They had it. And then that's what we worked from. That was the baseline.
Yeah, and I love that you talk about the productivity tax. I was going to mention, as you know, and all your research will tell you this from any international organization, Caribbean Development Bank, anywhere, that 80, 90% sometimes of the businesses in the Caribbean are micro, small, and medium.
Yeah.
Businesses, they're small, and the resources are also kind of limited. So,
Extremely.
I'm happy to hear that there was diversity in the room, because my question was, when you hear a framework, you kind of think big business,
Yes. But you see the thing.
hundreds and thousands of
Yes.
dollars,
Yes.
18-month
Yes.
process to implement
No, we do
all of
like
these things.
between 90 days to about 6 months, you can see a marked difference. Actually, the 30 days, if you stay to it, you'll be able to do it. The thing with the micro business, especially like solopreneurs, a lot of these, and this is why it has to be very, very customized, because when we think about a solopreneur, the reality of it is that, and SEADS has three pillars. So we have our cultural transformation pillar, then we have our economic impact pillar, and then we have our community resilience pillar. So when we look at those three pillars for a solopreneur, it's applied vastly differently than it would be applied for like a large organization. So generally with a large organization, I would look at, okay, what's the average salary of, of your employees, right? And then we would do all these calculations. Basically, the framework is math. That's literally what it is. Math and some organizational behavior and psychology application. But when I'm dealing with a solopreneur, when I'm dealing with an individual entrepreneur doing their stuff, I look very, very heavily at their reputation capital. And that reputation capital is in the third pillar. And that talks about basically what the percentage of your reputation that impacts your business. And Shanwick has put that at 44%. So you have, if you're a leader in any whatever, and you have your, like, even if you have a jewelry making business, let's say that, and that's you, it's just you.
Yes.
44% of your reputation is calculable to attach to your bottom line. So if
Yeah.
you've got a great reputation, yay. If you don't, well, now you're losing a good
Yeah.
4%
Wow.
of your potential income. And we see this.
Yeah.
If you go to a store and somebody's treating you, horribly, you're going to find a different store, right?
Yeah.
If I go to you all the time and you have a t-shirt business and you're always out of product and you always have whatever, I'm probably going to find someone else to go to. If
Mhm.
you're or your attitude is foul. So these are things that we deal with the solopreneurs.
And I like that you say it is math, because if we think of an equation, I mean, f- from nature to
Yes.
a product, a
Yes.
hard product,
Yeah.
once you have the formula, you just calculate and you get it done. So I understand completely now what you mean by applying this framework to large, medium, and small business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put you now on the spot,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Miss.
All right, let me get
So
on the spot.
let's do some math.
Oh, okay. Let's do some math. Okay, let me see. Let me get my calculator ready. Okay.
All right. I'm going to ask you to kind of weigh the level of your ambition. So for your business,
Mhm.
Seed Coaching and Consulting, and of course through the Seeds framework and leveraging that,
Mhm.
your ambition, I presume, is big. But how big is it?
Mm.
So if we go on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is, well, it's kind of just a thing that I'm
Mm.
doing, and
Mhm.
10 is, it is my absolute life mission.
Mhm.
Where
Okay, so where I am currently is probably about 7, maybe, probably about 7, because globally, I am global, but the multi-million dollar piece, girl, I like the way you think it. So it is getting there. It is getting there. But this is definitely the ambition. So my ambition to get there is 15. But where I am currently is, and this is so when I speak with solopreneurs, I'm like, I've been there. I am there in a lot of situations. The resources are tight. So in these things, we have these conversations, and so I look at myself and I say, wow, all right, how can I move from where I am to where I want to be, the aspirational piece, and that gap. I mean, it's closing slowly, more slowly, but the application of all the things that they say that we need to do. It was interesting, and digressing a little bit, but one of my collaborators, Christian Paul, he does a lot of sales and stuff in Barbados. He says, forget your mood, stick to the plan. Forget your mood, stick to the plan. That's what he says. That's what he told me. And I said, yes. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 2 or 3. Okay, right now. That was such an unfair question. I'm like, who who is even over 5? But and I'm sure you are. I'm sure, other people are. But I mean, I am ashamed to show people my calendar, literally. It is garbage, literally, because and it's become a habit, honestly. So that's where the meditation and the visualization come into play, because honestly, I would be a total and complete mess if I didn't take that time, at least that time, because literally from the time that meditation is done in the morning 5, it is on and popping all day. And so it's literally that intentionality of it. But yeah, I can't say that I have found any harmony. Like, I'll work on it. Oh, exactly. So if I increase my hours of meditation, maybe I can move to like 4 all day. I'll be meditating all day. I'm like, I mean, it's crazy. But as women though, and it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse by any means. But I have a 19-year-old who's in college. He's, and so that's the part. That's the mom piece, right? And then you have your business. And then I like my friends, if they get a text from me like, a couple times a month, it's I'm doing well. And I wear all the hats, in my business. So the balancing of that has been that's where the challenge is. And so this is why it has to be so intentional when nobody's gonna call me 4 o'clock in the morning. If somebody's up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm not your friend anymore. If you're calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning, please. Right, right. So I need to be at those times, I know there's complete quiet. And one of the things too is one of the reasons why Barbados is so important to me too is when I get there, like I have this girl group of friends, and we're all like entrepreneurs and business people or whatever. They're just these. Yeah. Yes. 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 Mm, yes. All day, all day. My goodness. My good my goodness. Absolutely. Mm. Mm. Mm, mm. Yeah. 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 No, that's really helpful. I mean, I feel changed, honestly, I do. I mean, and I'm not saying that to be, like, cheeky. I'm just people don't normally ask that question. I'm not never been asked that question, and it forces me to think about how I care for me, because if I don't care for me, who's going to care for me, right? I mean, especially in that way. I know I know when I'm having anxiety. Nobody else knows when I'm having anxiety. So I have to like sit down and like really count to 5, take my deep breaths, and just, and that's the self-care. That's the self-care at this point. So, yeah. We did discuss a lot. I do want to, I want to rest on something that, that we talked about again. Just to reiterate it, because you brought something, you surfaced something for me that I feel is really important. I'm probably gonna, it's gonna be resonating with me for a while. Is I always move through my day and my life with this mantra: push past the fear, right? Push past the fear. Push past the fear. Like, I'm gonna talk with a CEO who's of a multi-billion-dollar company. I'm nervous. I don't know if I'm gonna make this. I don't know if I'm gonna get this deal or whatever. Push past the fear. Shindale, push past the fear. But then there's that other piece too about, okay, what is that fear costing me in anxiety and stress? All of that. Because I'll tell you what, the night before and the morning of, I am like sweating. I am nervous, right? And that's something that we mask really well. Like, nobody would ever know it because you know how we do, right? Yes, I'm a strong woman. Hear me roar, right? And then we go in and we kill it. We close. But there's still that resonant anxiety that we still have to kind of like work on. And in thinking about that wellness piece for me, I think that this is where, and I want to share with those of you who may be struggling with the same thing. I haven't mastered it. I haven't surmounted it. I'm working on it. But now that you surfaced that for me, it's something that I see I probably need to work a little bit more diligently on. So I want to thank you for that. Girl. Girl. Okay. Like, there's got to be some other way to do this. Yes.